In this movie tutorial we're going to look at the black and white adjustments in Photoshop CS4, starting with the oldest method available, which is to go to the image menu up here, and from the mode submenu you can choose grayscale. And when you do this, this warning dialog comes up which tells you, do you really want to discard the color information, and reminds you that there are better ways of doing this in Photoshop, such as using the black and white adjustment that I'm going to discuss shortly. But let's just show you what happens if we discard the color channel information, so that we end up now over in the channels palette here just with a single grey channel. And basically the grayscale conversion takes an RGB image and can convert it to grayscale by using a formula where 60% of the green channel is mixed with 30% of the red and 10% of the blue. So it's a standard formula that applies to all grayscale mode conversions, and sometimes it can look good, but it doesn't really give you any flexibility as to how you convert the image. So if I undo that, let's just show you two other ways of doing a grayscale conversion or black and white conversion in Photoshop. If we go first of all to the channel mixer adjustment up here in the adjustments panel, I'll click on that, and you can see that there is a box here called monochrome, which if we check will immediately take the photograph from color into black and white. And down below we have the three sliders, because this image is in RGB. These are sliders for red, green and blue, where if we adjust each of these sliders, you can see that we can control the balance of the image. And the trick here is to do maths on the fly to work out the combination of percentages here so that they add up to near enough to 100%. So you can achieve a fairly wide range of effects using the channel mixer. It's a pretty powerful tool for creating different types of black and white conversions, but you do have to kind of visually compensate or add up the percentages to try and sort of work out which are the optimum settings to use. But help is at hand, because up here in the channel mixer presets menu you can see that there are already some presets that are supplied that you can quickly access, and you can select one of these to instantly apply one of these preset settings, and the slider adjustments will adjust, and you can see here these add up to 100%. So there's a pretty nice quick way of being able to work. If I was to return to the list view, and I'll just delete the channel mixer there for now, you can see that here we've also got presets that we can access. So you can just simply select one of these settings just directly from the list view. If I do an undo there, I can just find a setting, click on another one, and then very quickly go through and try different combinations that way. But the other way that we can convert from color to black and white is to use the black and white adjustment, which is a dedicated adjustment tool for taking images into black and white. And with the black and white adjustment, you don't have to be an expert in math to work out how to adjust the settings. You can, for example, just simply click on the auto button here, and the black and white adjustment will adjust the sliders below to achieve what it thinks would be the best adjustment for this particular image. And then as you adjust the individual sliders, you'll notice that as you drag on these sliders, for example dragging here the red slider to the right, you'll notice how the red colors in the image become brighter. And if I drag on the blue slider to take the blue slider more to the left, I can make the blue colors darker. If I drag on the cyan slider, I can make them go darker still. So I'll just reset that for now by clicking on the auto button. So you have manual control over the adjustment without having to do any math calculations, which is great. There's also another way you can convert, and that is to use the target adjustment tool. This tool was shown when, in an earlier movie tutorial where I showed you how to work with the curves adjustment in Photoshop CS4, and to show you how it works here, it's exactly the same. You just roll the cursor over the image, you select a color that you want to adjust tonally to make lighter or darker. You don't need to know that it's a blue sky, you can just simply click, and then as you drag to the left you'll see that in this case the blue slider is dragging more over to the left. And if I wanted to target, say, another color, in this case the grass, I can maybe make the greens darker, or I can make the greens lighter, so that you've got this on-image adjustment ability built into the adjustments panel. So let's say that I'm happy with that result. Let me just, oh, actually I'll darken the blues down a little bit more. Let's just say now that we've got the final effect, we've got the black and white conversion that we like. If I now click on the button here to go back to the list view, I can consider adding a color toning to the image to create, say, a split tone effect. And the way I describe how to do this in the book involves using the color balance adjustment, which is up here in the adjustments panel. And to create a split toning effect with, say, a sepia color in the highlights and a cool colors in the shadows, I'll start by clicking on the highlights button here and then just simply drag on these sliders to just choose the color that I feel like adding to the image. And then if I click on the midtone slider, I could maybe keep the midtones a little bit red there still, then go to the shadows button, and then here I can just dial in a cooler color for the shadows, so I can make those go more blue and cyan in the shadows. And there is the completed split toning effect, which you can see has been added in the layers panel as a new adjustment layer above the black and white adjustment. If I feel that this is too strong, then it's just simply a matter of reducing the opacity and taking that down so that I can get just the right amount of split toning color in that image. And at this stage here, if I wanted to produce a print, I could go to the print dialog and produce a print output, selecting the color options as you would do normally. But to finish off here, I want to show one other way you can produce a color-toned image, and this is only available to Epson users who are working with some of the latest Epson printers, such as the 2400 or the 4800 printer that I use here in the office. So to show you this technique, I'm going to turn off the color balance layer, and this image is still in RGB mode, but it will work. This technique will work also if the image has been converted into grayscale, which is the method that some people prefer to use. They would do the black and white adjustment here, they would flatten it down to apply it, and then just simply take the image into grayscale. But I find that it works just the same in RGB mode. So here's how it works. Let's go to the File menu and choose Print, and this will bring up the Photoshop print dialog. And as I pointed out, the color balance layer has been adjusted, so this is just a neutral black and white image at the moment. And I first need to make sure that the printer is reselected, so I'll select the Epson Stylus Pro 4800 printer up here at the top. And over on the right in the color management section, I need to make sure that we have the Photoshop Manages Colors option selected, because I want Photoshop to manage the colors. And then down here I need to select the printer profile for the printer and the paper, in this case a third-party paper that I'm printing to, and then choose a rendering intent. And for quite a lot of black and white images, I will tend to, especially ones which have got dark areas like this, I will tend to prefer perceptual over relative, and then make sure black point compensation is checked as well. When I'm happy with that, I'll click OK to choose print, and this brings up the Epson print dialog, the system print dialog for the Epson 4800 printer. And down here in the print options, I need to choose print settings and then go through the different options for this particular printer. So for example, I need to choose here the paper that I want to print to, which is going to be a premium glossy photo paper. And then for the color settings, I need to make sure that these are switched to off, because I don't want the print driver to color manage the image. And then I'll choose a resolution for printing to, so I'll choose a super photo resolution here. And then in the color options, you can see that I've got the advanced black and white photo option, and as I just mentioned a little while ago, these are only available for certain Epson printers, so you won't see this necessarily for every printer that you might be using. And then once I've selected that, it's a matter of going up here to the advanced color sections, and this will open up the black and white setting controls that you see here. To start with, you can see that there is a tone option which currently says darker. This is the default setting, which I suggest you leave it at. You can adjust this to, light, normal, dark, or darkest, but most people seem to agree that darker is actually the best setting to use. So I would suggest leave it set as that. Down here you've got a highlight point shift option, which you can switch on if you prefer. Basically this will just lay down a very fine color tone value into the highlights. Some people prefer that for producing black and white prints that they sort of feel have got a slight density into the highlights. Otherwise, if you prefer to print with just the paper white and the highlight points, then leave it switched off. Then we have these other controls here, which I would say just leave as they are. Just don't adjust them at all. And then that leaves us with the color toning option up here, where we've got neutral selected at the moment, but you can also choose from cool, warm, or from these sepia presets. If you leave it set to the neutral setting, this will basically just lay down the three black ink colors onto the paper. So basically you're just printing with carbon rather than using any color pigments to produce the image. And this has got the benefit of bringing extreme longevity, because if you're printing just with the carbon colors, then the print life is estimated in hundreds of years. So that is if you're printing to an archival paper. So this really gives you the ability to produce fine art archival prints by choosing the neutral option. But if you prefer a bit of color in your photograph, then you can choose one of those presets I showed you there, or you can just simply click on this color wheel to select any color that you like, and you get a preview up here of a Greg Gorman image that was put into the print drivers, so that you can get some sort of prediction of how the print is going to reproduce by just simply clicking anywhere in the color wheel. Or alternatively, you can set the value by entering in numbers, so you could perhaps put in a particular number value that you might want to apply and just input those numbers there. Then once you're happy with that, then just click print, and this will send the image to the printer using the settings that you've established here to produce the print with the color toning that has been established. So that really finishes this particular tutorial, in which I've shown you how you can use the different ways to convert an image from RGB mode to black and white in Photoshop, including the use of the color balance adjustment for doing the color toning afterwards. And then finally the advanced black and white printing methods that are available to Epson owners using these specific printers.